was with Danny and growing up. Thank you. We're on now. Okay,
We're on
good.
again.
So anyway, and I of course knew the family and hung around with them a lot and all that stuff. But now we talked about this before we came on the air. You graduated in '71.
Yes, sir.
And Janie was, I don't know, she graduated 70 some odd. 75. And I wasn't until 79, so.
I don't know what year she's supposed to graduate, but that's the year she got out.
You be careful. You be careful. You just mentioned that class of 71 was the last class in the old high school before
That's
they went
correct.
to the new school, which is not that new anymore.
No, it's an old school now.
It's an old school now. That's right. That's right. Well, Dennis, tell us a little bit, if you don't care, the background of your family, the Tipper family, and maybe how who your dad was and mom was, and were they native to Lawrence County and Lawrenceburg, or how did you come to be Dennis Tipper?
Well, my wife advised me to take the gag order of the day to protect the innocent.
I figured.
But I think I'm going to have to be fined and just go ahead and tell the story.
Oh, it'll be all right, I promise.
Now, my dad was Carol Tipper. He worked at the co-op for about 25 years. My mom was a bishop, raised out in New Prospect.
Okay.
Of course, there were 5 of us boys.
Now, I can name some of them. I remember Jimmy.
He was the oldest.
Jimmy was the oldest.
Then Jerry, and then
Jerry,
me. I was the
then you.
middle, and then Mickey, and then Jeff.
Oh, yeah, okay. Jeff and I graduated together.
Right.
We were in school together, played baseball together.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this earlier. Jimmy was into sports quite a bit.
Yeah,
wasn't
he coached a lot of. He actually coached Jeff some.
Yeah, I
He had
remember.
the Carbon Whites. I think Johnny Fleeman and Jim Fleeman both played on there. A lot of the people in town with the business now played for him.
Yeah.
But,
So your mom was a native New Prospect person.
Right, Bishop.
Now, where'd the Tippers come from, or do you know?
They were actually over in the edge of Giles County, is where Daddy was raised, down near Shores Graveyard.
Okay.
And
Gosh, I know where that
and
is.
then, of course, he came to Lawrenceburg. And he had brother Harold, and then Howard Rufus, and then Charlie.
Yeah.
And then there were like 3 girls, so there was a big family of them.
All right. So you grew up where?
I grew up on West Gaines, where Herb's Corner is where I first saw the light of day.
Really? And I don't think I knew that. Now, what was the neighborhood like there when you were growing up? I mean, it's always been Herb's Corner, best I remember.
You never locked your door. Keys stayed in your car.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to mow the yard with 5 boys. We kept the yard pretty well run down, playing ball and everything. But
Oh, my gosh.
across the street were the Brinks at On Brink Lumber Company. They lived across the street. And then Mike Bottoms and Steve and Spiff and all of them lived beside the Brinks. And then up above it was Dr. Malloy, all of his kids. And then Grady Plemons, the sign painter.
Yeah.
Charlie Carpenter had the Rosemary Carpenter had the service station. They lived up there, so
Oh, really?
it was a block off the square, so it was a happening place. We walked to school at West Highland.
West Highland School, yeah.
A lot of brilliant minds come out of that school.
Well, they did. That was, of course, that was the in-town school right
Oh,
there.
yeah.
For many, many, many years. So you walked to West Highland. That whole neighborhood was different back then.
Oh, yeah.
Because the courthouse wasn't there. I mean, none of that is where it is now. Herb's Corner, of course, wasn't there. None of that stuff. So you had a bunch of friends.
Oh, yeah,
a
we
bunch
played
of guys
ball.
Played ball all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
That was a big, I think I missed that. We did too. We played yard baseball or kickball and of course we played football even if we didn't have a football. We used a milk jug
Right.
a time or two. And I miss, the boys playing like that.
We all had bicycles. Of course, you'd put the baseball cards on there to make a noise. And I probably used a rookie Mickey Mantle to make mine sound good. So, it probably $50,000 card we were putting on our bicycles back in the day.
Back in the day, all those good baseball cards. Well, sports and all that was kind of a part of y'all's life, I guess, growing up, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah, we all played ball. Stayed at the ballpark, probably more there than we did home.
Yeah. Who are some of the characters, I guess, around town that you grew up with? You named a few, I guess, but you had your brothers, of course.
Yeah.
That was a pretty good house full.
Yeah, there was 5 of us boys there, so, and then
No sisters.
no sisters,
All right, all boys.
all boys. But we stayed at Rotary Park. You know, that was back when you went up there around 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, and you stayed all day. Then your parents would come and get you that afternoon. You play putt-putt golf, ping pong, and then had the swimming pool.
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't get to swim much because we played ball,
Yeah.
and they didn't want you to be swimming playing ball.
I remember that. They tell you not to go swimming if you're going to play ball.
I had Herb Cheatwood. He was my Little League coach. Played on the Votes. And then Babe Ruth, I had Ken Spiker
Yeah.
as a Babe Ruth coach.
So you played quite a bit.
Yeah.
Well, what was the? I mean, you know, were you good?
That was pretty fair.
You tippers. I remember Jeff, of course. Jeff pitched some, and I don't remember us being on the same team. Seemed like we might have been in Little League or Babe Ruth, one or the other. But seemed like I remember him pitching some.
Yeah, he did. He pitched some.
Yeah.
In the Votes, I would pitch 3 innings, and Jimbo Cheatwood would pitch 3 innings.
Yeah.
And Jackie was the catcher.
Yeah.
So we pitched 3 innings every game.
Jackie
Cheatwood.
Cheatwood.
Yeah, he was the hind
Oh,
catcher.
my gosh. Yeah.
And but we had some good teams back then, though. I remember in '68 when we went to the state tournament over in Pulaski there at Sam Davis Park.
Yeah.
We wound up 3rd in the state.
All right. I'm going to tell you, you're pecking on the microphone.
Oh, okay.
And it's coming through.
Cool.
So,
That's
people
waking
are
you
wonder-
up. You were dozing a little
people may
bit,
be
so-
wondering what that noise is. And I'm like, I need to tell him he's pecking on
Yeah.
the microphone. Anyway, well, I wanted to ask you, as you grow up and you begin to grow up, you went to West Highland. Who were some of your teachers at West Highland? You remember?
Well, Raymond McCrory was the principal over there, and of course I was a patrol boy. I started out
Now, what's a patrol boy?
in law enforcement at an early age.
You did?
That's the one I had a little plastic hat I put on, and I had a badge I wore,
Oh, really?
and had a little flag-like deal. And when the bus would come up or people would get out, you'd walk out in the road, hold that, and let them walk across the street and not get run over.
Oh, okay.
So we had there in front of the school, we had a patrol boy, and then up on North Locust, we'd have to walk all the way up there and help people across the street there.
Oh, okay. Well-
So it was a pretty neat deal there. But Mary Jane Sis was a teacher there, Miss Johnson,
I remember Miss Mary Jane. Yeah.
Miss Donalds, Earl Webb, he was a teacher there, and
Mr. Webb, yeah.
Miss Carpenter, and Miss Brewer, her husband had the Ford place.
Oh, okay.
Frank's mother,
Yeah.
she was the 8th grade teacher there.
Big community there.
Yeah.
Just a lot of folks in the local community, a lot of names that people will recognize and know. So you grew up, and when you went to high school, what was high school like for Dennis Tipper?
Well, you had to, when you was a freshman, you knew you were going to get your pants dropped. So that was just the way.
I wonder how that tradition got started.
I don't know. Back in the day, that was when Larry Hammonds was a pretty rowdy guy, and he put a midnight buggy on top of the breezeway one Halloween.
Well, now tell us about that. I ain't heard that story.
Yeah, they called him the round man. He was a little short, heavy-set guy, and he's meaner than a yard dog. And a bunch of them got a buggy and put it up on there on one Halloween.
Put it up on where now?
There was a breezeway between the old school, high school, and the new
Oh,
building,
yeah.
they called it.
Yeah.
And they put it up on
How
there
did they get it
somehow.
up there?
This bunch of big old stout boys, big old hard ankles out there wanting to get in trouble.
Well, did you get in trouble much in school?
I had my share. I didn't get to go in the library till everybody else did because throwing pennies and doing stuff like that,
Oh,
in
yeah.
the library and
Yeah.
M&Ms or something like that. But I was a little bit mischievous at times.
Well, from my experience of knowing you and knowing Jeff and a few other tippers around the way, always joking and carrying on, a lot of fun.
Yeah, we like to have a good time.
A lot of fun. And so a lot of poking, that kind of thing. We just had a big time. And I'm not above that myself. I've been
Right.
a participant. So I can imagine high school was full of pranks a little bit.
Oh yeah. One I remember, I'll never forget, and it was sixth period study hall, and I was on row 13 being a tipper, and Tony Wallace sat right in front of me.
Tony Wallace.
Cedric's daddy.
Yeah, I know Tony.
And they had those big tall windows in there with the blinds on them, and Tony would always sleep sixth period. So one day I took one of those straps and I tied it to the bottom of his desk. Because when the bell would ring at 3 o'clock, he'd hop up and run out of there. So I tied it that when the bell rang, he hopped up and he hung that wire and jerked that blinds down on him. And he was madder than a wet hen.
I bet I'd have took off if I was you.
Yeah, I didn't hang around to see what all they saying. He was a big guy back
Yeah,
then.
he was a big guy. That's right.
But we had a lot of fun back then.
Good deal. Well, so what did you do after graduating high school? Let's take the story. This is your life kind of thing. What in the world did you do right out of high school?
Well, I was working at Lloyd Carroll Motors,
Lloyd Carroll Motors.
Yeah.
I remember that.
selling Cadillac, Buick, and O's.
What'd
down
you
there.
do? What'd you do there?
Well, I started out in cleanup, helped clean the cars up and took care of the used car lot and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'd run parts for them and stuff like that. And then later on got to selling a little bit,
Okay.
some cars.
Well, you've been in the car business from the get-go just about then.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
I forgot to tell you that somebody may want to talk
Sure,
to us.
that's fine.
And maybe they got some comments or questions. Hey, good morning. How are you?
Jeff,
Yes.
getting a little bit ahead of himself. He was left out car hopping at the Redwood Inn.
You're right. You're
Oh.
right. I forgot. That's where I learned all of my good lessons was there because Landy Hurst was there. He had a red GTO, and Bud Bailey had a Chevelle. Delmer Garland had that Fairlane 500 with 3 on the tree. And of course, Dan Pinkley had the green GTO, 66 or 7, I believe.
And every one of us would go around there sideways.
Oh, yeah. And Gary Chapman, he passed away. They buried him today. He had that little blue big block Camaro,
Oh, yeah.
white top. So,
Oh my gosh! See, you, Lanny. I need you here to help talk cars with me on him, because he's a car buff like you, man.
I'm telling you, he got into it, buddy. He's full-blooded.
see, I was just a young child labor working up there for Frances. She was my cousin, and then I saw all these heart ankles like Landy and them, all this stuff they were doing, and boy, they was having a big time. And I knew right then that's what I wanted to do when I got big and growed up.
Hey, good hearing from y'all this morning.
Thank you, Lanny.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, you know what? I forgot. Lanny told me about now. Tell me about that world and what was going on there. I mean, I guess a slight generation ahead of you. You were
Right.
watching, and like Lanny,
Oh, yeah, I was
And-
seeing all of these.
and so you were inspired.
Oh, yeah, I probably wasn't over 11 or 12 years old. And, of course, Frances, the Redwood Inn, she had let us car hop there. And, you could make pretty good money, which, $4 or $5 back then was a lot of money.
So you were car hopping.
Car
I mean,
hop, yeah.
For people that don't know, tell them what car hopping is.
Well, people would pull up and you'd go out there and take their order, what they wanted, which it was mostly just hamburgers, cheeseburgers, French fries, and
Yeah.
milkshakes. And
That was kind of on its way out when I grew up, but now there was still some of that. There was, especially over in Pulaski. Remember the Dixie Maid over there?
yeah.
And then over here, we had a place that still did it when I was growing up. But you could pull up, stay in your car, and somebody would come out and take your order.
Would bring a tray out there with all your food on
Yeah.
it. And you had the Redwood Inn on the north side of Lawrenceburg, and then Parkway was by the entrance of the park.
Right.
And they'd go from one to the other, all these guys with their cars and their dates, just riding from one end of town to the other.
Yeah.
They'd pull out a Parkway down there and cross that bridge. It was slick. Boy, you could get sideways getting those gears up through there in those cars.
That was just the thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
To have a car that was capable of showing off a little bit.
Well, see, when you pulled out of Redwood, there was nothing between there and where Maddoxtown Road is, the Chevrolet place was there, which it was a roller skate rink, roller rink.
Yeah.
And there was nothing up through there but just trees on both sides.
Yeah.
So it was just a great place to have a little fun with your car.
Well, so you car hopped, and
Yes,
you got to watching cars.
Mm-hmm.
As you car hopped, did you have any favorites? Did any stick out? Did you begin to develop a love of a certain type of vehicle, or?
Yeah, I liked the Camaros and the Chevelles. Of course, we were more General Motors. Daddy always had Chevrolets.
Yeah.
And I remember the little Mustang. There was one little Mustang in town. There was a pretty little blonde-headed girl that drove it. And she dated Bud Bailey some back
Oh, really?
in the day.
Yeah.
And it was a pretty little car. I liked it because she was a pretty little girl.
She made it look better, I guess.
Yeah, I always tried to wait on her. But
Did you ever spill anybody's
Oh,
food
yeah.
all over them?
well, yeah, you'd be coming around the corner and somebody else, and you'd have a tray full of milkshakes and run into somebody, and there they go.
You wasn't roller skating on this deal.
No, I couldn't roller skate.
You know, that's what they used to do too.
Yeah, we're skating on thin ice, but it wasn't on roller skates.
You know, I've always heard Lanny talk about it, you talk about it, and other people about the Redwood and the park. Was it Parkview or
Parkway.
Parkway? And they were a little bit before my time. I would have liked to have been a part of that, but they were a little bit before my time. But it sounds like just such a Americana.
It was. They'd have fights up there at night on like a Friday night or something. They'd get some boys that'd be pretty rowdy. I can remember Dan Oxford and Frank Schaefer. They'd come in after the ball game, get them something to eat and everything.
Yeah.
Frank would have that big Texas swim boater thing around him and a big hat on. And
He's always wore a hat.
yeah, and occasionally they'd get a little rowdy and get in a fight with somebody. But it was a interesting time growing up.
Yeah. So you were working there, I guess, as before you were driving.
Oh yeah.
All right. And so then time came on, and you got what was your first car?
First car I had was a '68 Chevelle.
Were you in high school?
Yeah.
Still in high school?
Yeah, I was working at Lord Carroll's when I got it.
Okay.
I gave $1,200 for it. And
Oh,
went
my
to the
Lord.
bank, and George Leonard was a banker down there, Andy's uncle, and he financed it for me. I believe my payment was like $35 a month.
Oh.
Gas was 30 cents a gallon, and you had plenty of money.
And I guess that seemed like a small fortune though at that time.
Oh
Really,
yeah,
to get that car.
yeah, $1,200 going in debt. Back then that was probably like $100,000 now.
What'd you say? 68?
'68 Chevelle.
68 Chevelle. Wow.
Dennis Trapp out on West Point Road. He traded it in down at Lloyd's, and I think he got him a new pickup.
Now what's a 68 Chevelle like that worth today?
Probably anywhere from 30 to 50,000, depending on how
Isn't that
nice it
amazing?
is. Yeah,
That's amazing.
it was a factory big block 4-speed car, so that made it even better.
So you could show out a little bit in it.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, well, good deal. So you developed a love of cars pretty early.
Well, our high school bunch, see, my bunch that I grew up with, like I had the Chevelle. Hale White had a '69 Camaro, and Jackie Griffin had a '64 Impala SS. And Rick Dorning, he had a little Mustang with a 289 high performance 4-speed. And, just everybody that was the cars back in the day.
Oh yeah.
Douglas boy had a GTO, and Mark Hendricks had a GTO, so that was just those type cars. Most of the cars, that was what we drove back in the day.
Did y'all modify them, work on them,
Oh,
do
yeah.
all that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, I've changed the transmission and just laying under it right beside the house. You didn't have no racks or anything like that.
Oh yeah.
Put headers on them, make them loud. Mike Yerby, he had a Tempest he had cutouts on it. We could take and loosen them up and run through town making a lot of racket. get the law all stirred up, put them back on, then go through town, be just as quiet. So we were all rowdy.
All rowdy. That's good. Well, but mostly harmless, I think.
Oh yeah, we didn't hurt nothing.
Yeah, that's good. That sounded like a fun time, buddy.
It was.
It's a fun time. Good to reminisce on it a little bit. So after you graduated high school, we talked about you got started working. How long was you at Lord Carroll Motors?
Let's see. I wasn't there probably long after high school. I started. I was also working with cattle up for Ben Purnell.
Oh, really?
Started hanging out some with Stan Tennant, Ronnie Bonner, and that bunch, Andy Leonard. And
Yeah.
started showing cattle.
Oh, really?
So I thought
I don't
wanted
think
to
I
be
knew this about you.
I thought I wanted to be a cowboy there for a while,
Yeah.
Joe Buck or something like that.
So you started working cattle then.
Yeah.
Well, what was that like?
Well, we showed cattle. We had a ball.
Yeah.
We'd hit 12, 15 fairs showing cattle. And you had the likes of like Tennant and Bonner and Gary Blue would go with us. And
Some of them are still showing cattle.
yeah, Stan and Ronnie still do.
Yeah. That's amazing.
But,
I had no idea about that.
yeah, we showed cattle. Had several for being there.
So were you doing this for a living? I mean, how were you making
Yeah.
your living? You were working cows.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what was next on the agenda?
Well, then, let's see, I started probably along then is when I was about 19, I got married and had Shannon, my oldest daughter, which she's married to Robbie Huntley, and she's in the medical field.
Yeah.
And then I was working at I worked at Murray like everybody else did for 2 or 3 months, and then get laid off, and then go back and get laid off.
Okay.
And so from there, I left Murray and I went to selling cars at Chrysler Country.
I remember Chrysler Country. Yeah.
Had Roger Peppers was a sales manager, and Tommy Massey owned it.
Yeah.
And Mr. Roy Hardison was a salesman there. And of course, you had all the guys in the bunk where Gowan Wholesale is. That was where Chrysler Country was.
Okay. Yeah.
So Chrysler, Plymouth, Dodge, and then International Trucks and Transcraft Trailers.
Well, seemed like I remember. Did Bobby Brewer work
Yeah.
up there too?
Oh yeah, he was
He
sales
was part of
manager
Chrysler
there.
Country
Right.
there, best I remember.
Yeah, he was there for several years, and then he went to Chuck Brewer Chevrolet, and then later on, I went from there to Chuck Brewer after Tommy sold out and moved to Etheridge, where Sharp Transport is. He built
Yeah.
Tom Massey International,
Yeah.
and we moved up there and had Johnny Holland and Jerry Jester was
Okay.
3 of them owned it, and it just never really took a hold like he
Yeah.
thought it would up there. And so from there I went to Chevrolet Place.
Yeah. Chuck Brewer had a long run there. Chuck Brewer Chevrolet. I got to know Chuck. Of course, I think it was in the Kiwanis Club with him and some others, and just a great guy.
Yeah, he was. Chuck was a good one.
Yeah. Yeah. So you just stuck your head in the car business pretty much, but you worked at Murray, did cow business, so you kind of did what you had to. Did what you had to. Well, now, as time went on, now when did you and Janie come to be?
We got married in 1979.
1979. That was a good year. That was the year I graduated high school.
Yeah, she finally run across me, and she just thought that was the best thing that ever happened.
Couldn't
to her.
do without you.
No. I don't know if she'd say that now or not, but
Yeah.
we got married. Of course, had Jill and Katie.
Yeah, Jill and Katie, great girls. And, excuse me. Sorry. Sorry about that. Well, you and her have been busy together. Y'all done all kind of things. And, of course, you've been involved. I know that Jill especially has been involved with flying, right? And I see Katie, she's buying and selling. She's taking the car business up, or at least in some capacity.
Right.
So, so you guys got a close family. Been doing a lot together.
Yeah, they both hard workers. Her and Jill both are. They stay after it. Katie, of course, has got Tips Motorsports now, which she does wheels, tires, and has side by sides and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Jill and Chad have Gowan Wholesale Auto.
And you worked for them some, didn't you?
Yeah, I stayed there for several years. I guess I got so old, and they'd catch me sleeping in the office there, and rather than fire me, they thought it was better to just go ahead and retire. But I still help them. I go to the airport and pick up people for them. They have people fly in every week. It's really been good to them.
Well, I've noticed, of course. I know Chad and Jill and Katie too, for that matter. But I hadn't seen Katie in a while, but I do hear from her because she's selling stuff, and I see it and all that kind of stuff. So she's busy. But Chad and Jill have developed a tremendous business up there where Steve Williams Ford used to be.
Right.
If you don't know what we're talking about, it's Gowan Wholesale Auto, and they deal a lot with trucks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they have a specialty trucks, the 3/4 ton, 1 ton, utility bed trucks and work trucks. And,
Yeah.
There's a big demand for it, and they did real well with it.
Yeah, they have. They've done very well. Well, they do a good job.
Yeah.
And I've been amazed to find out, and of course, it's not surprising in today's world, really, that they do a tremendous online business, do they not? Yeah. And
Yeah.
you said you have people flying in even.
Oh, yeah, it's every week there's several people fly in to buy trucks, especially from the north because everything rusts out up there, and
Yeah.
they come and get these good southern trucks, so they do a good job cleaning them up, and
Yeah.
they're in great shape when they leave there, and they take care of their customers. They don't forget them, so that's a big thing there.
Yeah. Well, they're good folks. So they got a good background with you and Janie, and of course the Gowans that been at it for a while, and they know what they're doing. They got that short boy up there.
Yeah.
You know anything about him?
Yeah, Mr. Zachary, I know quite a bit about him. He does a good job.
I like Zach. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a good
His
guy.
dad, he's a nice guy.
Yeah. Love them all, man.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to ask you we talked about your cars, but you have bought and sold, ain't no telling how many cars, for your own personal collection and self and all that kind of stuff. I've known about a few of them. Has there been one or two that you've held on to that just ain't going anywhere?
Well, I've got an old Corvette I've had for probably, I guess, 18 years, 17, 18 years. So and that's the only old car I've ever bought that Janie really liked.
Really?
And so she says that's hers. So I said, that's great. We'll keep it, and that way I can have another one for me. But she really likes it. It's a pretty neat old car.
What model is it now?
It's a 61.
A 61 Corvette.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's black with the silver cove red inside.
Yeah.
It's all manual, no power steering, no wire, no nothing.
Yeah.
Just got a steering wheel and a gear shift now. Don't even have a radio. It was a radio delete car.
Really?
So it's definitely a car you drive in the afternoon when it's cool.
I bet so.
'Cause-
What have been some of your favorites that you've kind of messed with over the years?
Yeah, of course I like 69 Camaros. I've had a bunch of those cars.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, what do you like about those? What's the deal?
I don't know. I back in the day, Grumpy's Toy. It was a Bill Jenkins race one all the time, and I just liked the way that car looked, and he won a lot, and it was.
Now, who's Bill Jenkins? I don't know.
He's just a famous drag racer.
He's a drag racer.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And I'd watch him, on TV and stuff like that, and we'd go to some of the meets, where they would be at NHR, be racing, and
Yeah.
I just liked the way that car looked. He run Camaros pretty much the whole time.
Well, for a guy who's kind of a novice at cars like me, I can't, there's a few models that I know what they are, but I'm nowhere near like you or Lanny or some of these guys that really know their models. What would if somebody wanted to try to buy a 69 Camaro today, what would you expect to have to pay for one? And I know it probably depends on how they
Yeah.
are, but kind of an entry level. If you said, okay, here's an entry level '69 Camaro, what would it?
It'd be probably a minimum of 30,000 up.
Really?
Depending on how nice a one you wanted
Really?
and what it was.
That's amazing.
As a matter of fact, I saw a car on the side of the road Saturday. We were going to Franklin, and it would have been a car like you would have really liked. It was in a driveway. It was like about a 61 or 62 Cadillac convertible.
Really?
Like Boss Hog would be riding in on Smokey and the Bandit.
That's what I need.
It was a kind of a bright red type car. Not a bright, it was a red car with white inside.
Yeah.
And you'd look good
Well,
in that.
why didn't you pick that up for us?
Well, I was going to stop and check on the way back, but I came back a different way.
Well, so if I decide I want some kind of a specialized vehicle, you would help me pick it out.
Yes, sir.
You'd help me pick it out.
I'll help you get in debt with one, no problem.
All right. Well, I may want to do it one of these days. So far, I'm just sticking to the Ford truck. You know, that's what I drive.
Is that the one that final notice was hooking up to when I come in?
Yeah, that's it. That's it. 30 more payments and it's mine.
Yeah.
No,
That's like the Corvette. I told somebody the other day, I said, I don't like but 24 payments. I bought it new in 61, and it'll be paid for. They said, you been financed that long?
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. Well, so the '69 Camaro you like, and it's a specific year.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite model cars has always been a '57 Chevy, and I like a '55. But the '57s have been my. I just spot one. I can almost smell one coming. Never had one. But have you ever owned a '57?
I had two last year I sold.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, now what am I going to have to pay for a '57 Chevy? Entry level, nothing crazy.
They're probably about 30, 35. You know, the last one I sold, it had a tune port with air and power steering and everything. You know, it was a car you could run 80 mile an hour on the interstate all day long. Yeah.
Really?
It was a real nice car.
Wow.
But it's like 35,000.
35,000.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you know, if you want that car,
But it cost you 50 or 75 to build it. It's the problem.
I was going to say, I mean, if you redid one of those, you'd have a lot more in it than that. So you can find a bargain maybe in something
Find
like
one
that.
that's older restoration. It's one you like, and you can buy it for about half.
Isn't that neat?
Mm-hmm.
Well, see, now you got me tempted to think about it. You know what Teresa's favorite vehicle is the Volkswagen van.
Mm-hmm.
The old Volkswagen vans, you know. I don't know what model they are, but they're all, I guess. You ever had any of those?
No, I saw one on Barrett Jackson. It's a 23 window. It's got 23 windows around it.
Oh, yeah.
And it brought like $300,000.
Oh, Lord. Well, she's going to have to wait on that.
Yeah. So they're real pricey.
They're they're highly collectible.
Right.
You know, they I guess some people really consider some of these vehicles investments.
Oh, yeah.
You know, they buy them and hold on to them. And
Yeah, a lot of people are hiding money in old cars, you know, because they appreciate, you know, quite a bit every year, a lot more than what you can make on interest.
Did you ever get into finding old ones and fixing them up, or you just try to find?
Back in the day, I did some, but now it's so hard to find anybody that wants to do that type work, and it's so expensive. It's time consuming.
Yeah.
To redo an old car, you know, it takes 3 or 4, 5 years. I mean, it's not an overnight job. I used to think, man, you could redo a car in 60 days, but it don't happen like that.
Yeah.
It takes several years to do one because step by step, you know.
Yeah. That's pretty amazing, though. There's people talented enough to do it, I guess. A lot of people do it themselves, you know, those guys that are really into it. And, of course, now you watch these TV shows where they do them in 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, like that Dave Kended, like this shirt I've got.
Yeah.
It's called Bitchin' Rides, and his cars, they say, start at $300,000.
Oh, my gosh.
And that's some of those you watch 30-minute show and they do it. But
Yeah. Well, it
his
takes
restaurant-
months.
Yeah, he's got, I forget how many employees, but they say his cars are like $300,000 up for
300,000.
restoration.
Wow.
But they're one-on-one, most of them, you know.
Yeah.
He customizes them, redoes them. He did a Corvette just like mine for his father-in-law.
Really.
And I was at the show there in Nashville last year, and he was there. And I was talking to him. I said, Dave, I brought my Corvette up for you to see. It's just like the one you did for your dad. I said, the only difference between my car and your car, yours is just a little bit nicer.
Yeah.
He said, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
But
A little bit nicer.
Yeah, but he's just a super nice guy. But those cars take a long time to do.
Oh, man. Yeah.
And we don't have anybody in this area that, that really does it anymore.
No, we used to have some guys
Yeah.
that did some. Of course, I think of Johnny Messer's shop.
Yeah.
He custom built or customized old cars, worked on them a lot, and of course I was neighbors with him for a while, and every once in a while I'd slip over there and just talk with him. He was always interesting to talk to.
Very talented, Johnny was. He could do anything he wanted to with a car. He was very talented.
Well, he was musically talented, and,
Oh, yeah.
and he was talented with those cars, and just an interesting place sometimes to see what you could see over there.
Yeah.
Some of those old cars you'd have hanging around. And every once in a while when I'd pass by, you'd see one parked out, and I'd have to stop and go take a look at it. Now, he was into different kinds of cars than you were.
Yeah. Johnny did more of the old big cars, you know.
Yeah.
Big lead sleds, they
Yeah.
call them.
Yeah. The what I would call, ZZ Top did a lot of there. They did a lot of old cars like he would do. And they would lower the windows.
Chop the top.
Chop
and
the
everything.
top down a little
Yeah.
bit, all that kind of stuff. Did all kinds of stuff like that.
Yeah. And that takes a lot of time to do that and make sure you get it right, because you get off just a skosh and it's going to look wumpy jawed.
Yeah, won't look right at all.
Uh-uh.
Be like Cousin Eddie messing
Yeah.
up your part.
That's right. That's right.
So, what do you enjoy doing these days?
Well, I'm over the yard a lot.
You call in every once in a while with stuff for sale.
Yeah, I buy and sell. Of course, Janie's got her shop out there.
Yeah, well, tell me about that. What is she doing?
She's got the shop there called Briarwood Cottage,
Yeah.
and she handles all, stuff for the house, pictures and flower arrangements and little tables and chairs and just anything, to go in the house. She does that. And I have to help her load and unload stuff from time to time or go pick up stuff. And she enjoys doing that.
Y'all just stay busy with something.
And with two grandkids, that keeps you busy. Kate loves riding horses, and then Callie, she's playing travel ball. So
Oh boy, yeah, that'll keep you busy.
every other Saturday, you're at a ballpark for about 10 hours.
I know a little bit about what that's like. We got Shepard, our grandson, playing some ball and some travel ball. Daniel's waiting to play baseball, Babe Ruth baseball this time, so they're about to start. They ain't even got started yet.
You'll enjoy that. That's a pretty neat league.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's his first year there.
Maybe
so.
you can play high school ball too.
Well, I hope he does. I really do. I hope he gets to play high school ball.
What position does he play?
Well, he's played a little bit of all of it, but he plays in the field, and I'm trying to develop him pitching. I think he can pitch, but he hadn't had a lot of opportunity yet to pitch. And I'm not a super coach, but I've had him some other help, and he's beginning to throw it pretty well. So we'll see. He's pretty young yet, so we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, pitching's very competitive now.
It's very competitive. And if that don't work, then me and him will just play golf.
That'll work.
We'll play golf. Well, Dennis, I really appreciate you coming in. We still got some time left, and I wanted to ask you about more about the vehicle world, because you're still involved in it. You still mess with it. What you got today that you would sell today if you had an opportunity?
Well, I've got a little 72 Rally Nova that I just traded for.
Oh, really?
It's a little factory 4-speed bench seat car. It's a neat little car.
Really?
A white car. It's had a lot of modifications under the hood and everything. Guy'd had it 24 years that traded in.
Really?
A friend of mine, I got it from him.
Back when there was a Chevy Nova model that was really sought after.
Well, the 66 and 67 are your two higher dollar
Really?
Novas now.
66 and 67
Right.
Novas.
But a 68 through a 72 is basically the same cars other than emblems or powertrain, stuff like that.
Yeah. You remember, of course, you and I have some kin that are kin. You and I have some cousins that are cousins.
Chicken Head, one of them.
Yeah.
Nelson,
Nelson Hood is your
first cousin.
first cousin. And that being how? And I think I know, but
His mother and my daddy were brothers and sisters.
yeah, his mother and your daddy, brother and sisters, and his mother married my dad's brother,
Right.
Uncle Denman. So we have mutual cousins in that group of Hoods. And the reason I thought of it is because Charles had a Chevy Nova way back when, and it got stolen. You remember that?
Well, it was actually a 64 Chevy,
Was it a 64?
and he got it back.
He did get it back.
They found it out west,
Yeah.
and he still got the car.
Does he still have
Yes.
that?
It's a 64 Impala SS.
Oh, it's an Impala. I was thinking it was a Nova. I'm sorry.
Now,
that's
Nelson
long.
had a 67, a little green Nova one time that was
Yeah.
a really fast car. He's
Yeah.
had a lot of fast cars.
Yeah, now they grew up over in Giles County, and I would go visit them. Now, they were both a little older than me, but we were talking about the car stuff. I remember being a kid, and one of them, and I guess it was Nelson, he had a black, and I think it was a 57 Chevy. Do you remember that at all? It was a black one.
Not really.
Anyway, he was talking about, back then to burn rubber was the thing. If you had a car that could lay down the rubber and make it, that was the big deal. So I remember him telling, he was talking about somebody's car that would do what it did, and he said, mine wouldn't do that rolling backwards on a wet heel.
I can remember.
I never have forgotten him saying that. And I was just a little boy. I just remember him saying that. We were standing around, they had the hood up on that car, and was looking at the engine and like they did, and I remember him saying that just plain as day. Mine wouldn't do that rolling backwards on a wet heel.
What I remember about Nelson, his daddy was pretty much always drove Ford vehicles, and he bought a new 67 Impala Chevrolet,
Okay.
and it had a 3 on the column, and that Nelson was starting to drive at that time, so Nelson would take that car out and race it. I mean, he run the wheels off of it. And Uncle Demon would say, man, that's the worst car I ever had. I said, boy, I'm having to fix this, and this. And then one day Nelson was racing it somewhere, and somebody let his dad know where he was, and Nelson was fixing the race, and he looked over and he saw Uncle Demon standing there at the racetrack fixing to watch him.
Yeah.
And he looked over and he said, Dad, he said, you better win. So he was out racing that car and every night, and that was probably one of the best cars he ever had, and didn't know it because it was abused.
Well, now, did you do the drag strip stuff?
Yeah, I did some.
Did you? Of course,
Yeah.
do we still have a drag strip? We do, don't we?
Yeah, you got a real nice
Gosh,
drag strip.
I haven't been up there in years. I was just a boy, I guess, last time I was ever there.
We would race out at, you'd go out to Pulaski Highway and turn right out by the orchard out there.
Yeah.
And there was about a mile stretch there, and a lot of us worked third shift, and we'd go out there and race our cars when we'd get off in the morning. And then come to find out, Chandler's Orchard was right up there above it, and he was a highway patrol, and we didn't know it.
Yeah.
We was out there racing pole to pole.
Probably the most daring thing that I ever did, at least I thought it was, and this was, and I didn't have a very fast car. I had a heavy, my dad's, I think it was a 66 or 68 Buick Wildcat, big 4-door car.
Gold color, wasn't it?
No, it was a blue.
Blue, okay.
Kind of an old blue color of some sort. Anyway, I think Danny was with me, and we late at night we went out on the runway, and run that thing up and down the runway a little bit. Of course, I never could get it all the way to the top. It didn't have enough room. It took too long to get up there. But anyway, that was probably one of the most daring things I ever did in a car. And
It wouldn't have did for Joe or J.E. to caught you out
well,
there.
I kind of hated telling it right now because they might get in trouble still. I shouldn't even told it, I don't guess. But we did anyway. I don't know if it was, and I remember if it was Danny with me or not. I can't remember.
Probably was.
Probably was, but anyway. Well, what's on the agenda for you the rest of the day?
Well, the rest of the day I've got to go to Huntsville for the car lot to carry a guy flew in down there and he got a rental truck. Came
Yep.
up and bought a truck and drove it home, so we've got to take it back to the rental company for him and drop it off.
Well, you're more busy in your retirement than you ever were working.
I'm a world traveler.
You're a world traveler. You got stuff going on, man. So we got a Nova for sale. We got anything else for sale?
Janie's got a bunch of stuff there at Briarwood Cottage, and
Yeah.
I've got a few old car parts, but not much.
All right.
Not a whole lot of stuff.
But you are available for consulting.
Yeah.
Car consulting. You know, I have a buddy that I graduated high school with, Greg Miller. I don't know if you know Greg.
Yeah, I know
you
Greg.
know Greg? He was a
Yes.
GTO man.
I remember the purple one. I'd still see him pulling the wheels up at the drag strip with it.
Yes, sir.
He had that thing where it would run.
Yeah, he was quite the car buff.
Yeah.
And still is, as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Motorcycle. He had a real fancy
Yeah.
chopper
Yeah.
that he rode, and his son works up at Kroger's, there.
Yeah. Well, Greg and I graduated high school together. We went to school together our entire life, really.
Well,
He was New Prospect guy.
His brother Ben flew out the airport, right?
Yeah. I think so. I think so.
Yeah, I know Gregory.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in a while, but I think he works for Butler Performance.
Yeah,
or
he
something
works up there.
Yeah, but he was a GTO dude.
Mm-hmm.
He had one in high school, that purple one.
Mhm.
I don't know if he still got it or not. He might.
I don't know. He had that big one, and then he went to the smaller when they cut the GTO down,
Yeah.
and he raced it, and he had a fast car.
Well, the big deal when I was in high school was the Pontiac Trans Am
Mm-hmm.
and the Oldsmobile Cutlass with the T-top.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember those?
Yes, sir.
There was a few of those around, and then of course Smoking the Bandit came out.
Yeah.
And that just lit the world on fire with everybody wanting one of those.
Mm-hmm. Those cars are still very popular,
Are they really?
very pricey.
Are they?
If you get a real Bandit edition, they bring a lot of money.
Really? Well, maybe you get us one. If you get one, you take us for a ride in it.
I'd probably be more inclined to get like that Cadillac I told you about, the
Well,
Boss Hog car.
I'm kind of like that myself.
I could be Junior riding over there.
We need to find one of those.
Yeah.
And you know my buddy Mean Joe, what he drives.
Yeah.
He drives, what does he call it? Charlene.
Charlene. He's got that big Impala. Oh,
Impala.
it's probably
No,
a Caprice.
It's a
isn't it?
Caprice, I
Yeah.
think. Big Caprice.
Yeah, it's not one of them Impalas. It's a Caprice. It's a step above.
I remember my uncle on my mother's side, my Uncle Paul, he had a huge Chrysler New Yorker. Do you remember those?
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, big square thing. It had corners on it that would cut you.
Mm-hmm.
Big,
Yeah, they were real good derby cars because they were higher off the ground a
Yeah.
little bit, and they were so like land barges.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't hardly tear them up.
Well, I made fun of my grandmother for years. She had a big old Buick LeSabre, and big old brown land barge like you're talking about. And I made fun of her because one day she went to work. She worked sewing. She did sewing for the cleaners and alterations, that kind of thing. And so she went in there that morning and come back out, and it was still sitting there running. You know,
Oh, no.
she left it running all day. Excuse me. So the other day, I was driving Teresa's car, and it's got the push button start, where you got the key in your pocket and you push the button. Well, I don't have that in my truck. Mine's got the key. So I'm driving hers. I mean, I've driven it many times. Well, we went to eat, and I forget where we was eating now. When we come back out, and that car was sitting there running after we'd eat.
Yeah, if you don't
The
hit
kids,
that button,
the kids were making fun of me. Dad, the car's running. I left it running, but it was running
nice.
so quiet I couldn't hear it.
It's nice and warm when you got in it. Then.
Yeah. Dennis Tipper has been my guest here today, buddy. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for
Enjoyed
coming in.
it.
This is Friends and Neighbors with yours truly, and of course, it's brought to you by my company, Hood Company Real Estate Services, powered by Keller Williams. And that's what I get to do on Wednesdays. Now, tomorrow, Keith and Kevin will be in with the Quick Mart Hour, and we're looking forward to that. But, Dennis, I appreciate it. Me and you have talked about you coming for a while. and we finally got you in here.
Enjoyed it.
Next time you come, we'll get Janie in here with you.
I don't know. That'd be a diversion.
You think?
She.
Well, listen, give all of your bunch my best. Tell them that we think the world of them all, and would like to see them all again soon. And the next time I get in the mood to find me a collector car, I'm gonna come talk to you. I believe I could do it. I think you're right. We need to get us a Cadillac. Maybe we could go in partners on it and take turns driving.
That's right.
That'd be all right.
We wouldn't want to do like Gary Blue did one time. He thought he wanted to buy him a limousine, have a limousine service.
Oh, really?
So he bought a big limousine, and he had the carpet dyed, and it was graduation weekend, so he had blue carpet, and he thought it was dry. Well, he rented it out, and when he picked the girl up in that evening gown, when she got in there, the whole bottom of her dress was blue.
Oh, my goodness. Let's see who's on the phone. Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. Where's his place at? If man want to come look at the car.
Oh, well, you'd probably just have to call Dennis. He don't have a place for sure, but now you can find him through Gowan's Autos up there, Gowan Wholesale, where the trucks are.
Yeah, okay.
Okay? How about that?
Thanks.
Thank you, man.
Thanks.
We might find you a buyer on that car.
Yeah.
We might have just done that. Oh, that'll work good. Well, they can find you through Gowan's up there.
Yeah, that's fine.
That'll work. Well, buddy, thanks for coming in.
Thank you
We're
for
gonna end
inviting
it.
me.
We're going to end it right there. We'll see you next time. Take care, buddy.
Thank you.
If your hospitals get Medicare money and somebody shows up and needs to be stabilized through the use of an abortion, you have to